Epidemic disease.
Somewhere in the chaotic stew of conquest, commerce, and sheer dumb luck, the New World was baptized in invisible death. European pathogens, smallpox, measles, and their microbial kin, arrived without fanfare but brought the house down. No swords, no cannons, just sneezes, and then silence. The Americas were a mosaic of vibrant cultures, ceremony-rich, battle-tested, and fiercely sovereign. Then came the match. What followed wasn't a war, it was a biological massacre. From the 16th century onward, waves of disease turned native ground into a mass grave. To understand this grotesque chapter, you've got to ditch the manifest destiny bedtime stories and stare into the raw abyss where liberty collided with plague. Forget conquistadors in shining armor or Puritans scowling from paintings. The true vanguard of European conquest were microbes, piggybacking on traders, settlers, and missionaries. By the time English pilgrims landed on Plymouth Rock, smallpox had already done its grim work, leveling entire coastal nations, leaving behind ghost villages and unmarked cemeteries. In some places, 90% of the population vanished in the blink of a generation. From the Iroquois Confederacy to the Chinook of the Columbia River, the pattern was painfully consistent. Complex societies reduced to fractured survivors. And while Europeans didn't grasp germ theory, ignorance is not absolution. As disease hollowed out indigenous nations, colonists crept in, occupying land cleared not by war, but by rot. Let's be blunt. The so-called neutral actors, missionaries, traders, colonial administrators, weren't exactly setting up triage tents. In many cases, they exploited the chaos. The infamous stories of smallpox-infected blankets may be debated, but the symbol sticks for a reason. Epidemics were seen as divine windfalls, not humanitarian crises. Opportunism, not mercy, ruled the day. This was statecraft at its most insidious, expansion cloaked in catastrophe. And here's where the historian in us should bristle. Unchecked authority, propped up by disaster, justified by silence. No one filed apologies, no one passed resolutions. Dispossession became a policy without paperwork. And yet, resilience. Somehow, indigenous peoples flipped the middle finger to inevitability. The Seminoles formed a defiant new identity out of displacement. The Cherokee adapted, innovated, wrote constitutions, built schools. Across the continent, survivors pushed back against extinction with culture, language, and grit. Meanwhile, European consciences weren't totally asleep. Figures like Bartolomé de las Casas dared to ask the hard questions. Can you spread the gospel with one hand and smallpox with the other? Those debates, property rights, sovereignty, the moral weight of conquest, seeded later arguments that would grow into the roots of individual liberty and self-rule, though always a few centuries too late. By the time the American Republic took shape, it was already perched atop a silent genocide. It's tempting to call this a bootstrap miracle, but that's historical malpractice. The demographic collapse handed settlers an empty stage. Yes, they had grit, but they also had the benefit of moving into a theater where the previous cast had been wiped out by disease. This is the paradox. A nation founded on freedom, built in the shadows of death and dispossession. Reconciling that demands more than patriotic myth. It demands facing the theft, whether committed by kings or Congress. And this isn't ancient history. The COVID-19 pandemic showed us we still haven't learned. Disease ignores flags and ideologies, but its fallout lands hardest on the vulnerable. Bad governance, medical inequality, and the arrogance of dismissing local knowledge. Same script, modern cast. So, what now? First, kill the myth of inevitability. These plagues weren't natural disasters, they were social ones. Decisions made them worse. A truly historical lens doesn't sanitize the horror. It calls out the power structures that turn tragedy into strategy and demands a future where autonomy, not exploitation, is the guiding principle. History isn't just bones in the dirt, it's a mirror. And if you're brave enough to stare, you might just see how much blood still lingers on the glass.
So, you've subjected yourself to a portion of the RPTM podcast. We're aiming for a perfect balance here. We hope we triggered some reluctant chuckles, but even more importantly, we hope we've left you questioning the very purpose of existence. And if, by some cosmic accident, you actually found this clip to be somewhat intriguing, summon that oh so enthusiastic thumb and bestow upon us the coveted upward gesture. And hey, don't neglect that subscribe button either, because who would want to miss out on our impending onslaught of mind-bending dialogues?